So these dancers who were jitterbugs, the Ray-Ran dancers who were doing swing, started sticking all these different influences into their dance. 2 years later, 1937, we have Dean Collins come from New York, bringing the Lindy Hop. And again, the same dancers take the Dean Collins Lindy steps and put them in their swing. Now, the most important thing here is to realize is that these dancers were obviously teenagers, first off, and second, there was contests almost every single night of the week, somewhere in this area. One of the ways, the most important way to win a contest at that time was to be different than the rest of the crowds. The original was the most important thing in your dancing. And so they started integrating all of these different steps into swing. As the swing era moved on, the Dean Collins, who was spreading his dance, the Lindy Hop, of course, it became more and more popular. By late 1939 into 1940, the new generation of dancers who were just learning how to dance were learning straight Lindy. 1939, 1940, we have dancers for the first time learning first Lindy dancing, Lindy Hop, without learning or knowing what we call the swing, or today, bow swing. So these dancers here, the Ray-Ran dancers I mentioned, they also learned Dean's Lindy as well. So they could socially dance with other dancers, the younger dancers coming up in the scene. Because obviously, like I said a second ago, the important part of dancing in Los Angeles up until that time was being very, very original in your dancing. Which means probably not that good at social dancing with other people, because you were so original in what you did. It did not necessarily mean the next person can do it as well. So you have people like Hal Tahir, I mentioned a second ago, who is still alive today. He learned the Lindy just so he could social dance, because his style of dancing was so unusual. Again, down here, they're still just shuffling, doing the simple blah blah blah. The first really big event down here that really incorporated some more eccentric dancing, it was a radio station by the name of, not that this matters, but KEHE radio station, would rent the ballroom out to have a big party, because this disc jockey by the name of Al Posca, he was working down here in Los Angeles area, and in a window, he was on the radio, and he was playing swing records. And on the street, the kids could walk up to the window and see him playing the records on the radio. And the kids would dance on the sidewalk in front of him, watching him play records for the radio station. And we had at this particular time, we're talking about 1937, we started having what's called the swing shift, which means some people would work all day and sleep at night, other people sleep all day and they would work all night. And that's what they call the swing shift. And it was due to the war effort coming up. The war effort meaning World War II. The swing shift, the kids would get off work in the morning and they would go watch Al Posca on the radio and dance on the sidewalk. It started as only a couple people. A good friend of mine, Roy Dameron, and his partner at the time, Betty Seed was her name. And it became more and more people until the whole sidewalk and street was dancers at 6 in the morning. So Al Posca said, as a kind of a gift or a fun celebration for all of these great fans of his, he decided to put on a big event. And he was able to get the Rendezvous Ballroom to put on his big event. So for the first time, we have the young jitterbug dancers all traveling down here to celebrate this big event for the end of the school year that Al Posca, the radio station, put on. We have all of the dancers, and of course I have photographs online, which I will write down some of this information for you to see that. So in 1938, we have the big event all the way down at the Rendezvous for all of the jitterbugs and everybody. Now, up until this time, we still don't have very much up here anything Balboa dancing up here. Very, very few people, if any. And at that time, if you were from this area and you saw people in closed position doing the shuffle, they would just refer to it as that dance from down in Balboa. At that time, still, the Balboa was strictly a very regional, very small situation dance, and it was only called the Balboa by the people from this area. Just like when Dean Collins first came to Los Angeles in 1937 and they first saw the Lindy Hop, the dancers here, they called it the New Yorker, because they knew it was from New York. So these dancers eventually, they put that label on it as being the Balboa. And because they were doing the shuffle step, they called it the Balboa Shuffle. There was also a different dance up in Los Angeles called just the Shuffle, which is a different dance than the Balboa Shuffle. So we have these different areas with all these different steps. By 1940, I'm sorry, let me back up again. In 1939, the Palomar Ballroom burned down during a Charlie Barnett concert. Halftime, they were taking a band break, and basically, well, it doesn't matter, but the ballroom burned down, so no more Palomar. And in replace the Palomar Ballroom, not too far away, they built the Hollywood Palladium. The Hollywood Palladium opened up, I don't know the exact date, 1940 though, and it was with Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra, and it became the epicenter for big band dancing in the Los Angeles, Hollywood area. And we started to see more dancers coming from this area dancing because of bands like the big bands, Tommy Dorsey, Lionel Hampton, the big names coming from all over America. When you have such a big name, of course, people are going to travel from everywhere to come and see these really popular name bands. And so, when you looked at this, if you were in the back of the ballroom looking at the stage, if you were looking at the stage at the Palladium, if this is the stage, what you have is all the Balboa dancers coming from this Orange County area staying together close because they were familiar with each other's dance styles. And they knew if they stayed together, they would be safer. So the Balboa dancers would stay over here. Over here, on this side of the stage, was all the Ray Ranch dancers and jitterbugs. That would include the Lindy dancers, as well as all of the swing dancers. This side of the stage, this side of the stage. These were the younger dancers, of course, that were doing the fancy steps, the aerials, the slides, the slip-outs, and so forth. The rest of the ballroom, 5,000 people were doing the foxtrot. A lot of the pictures you see at that time, this would all be military people in many, many, many pictures. And when you walked in the ballroom, the first thing you saw was this huge sea of people. For you to dance here, you had to earn the right to dance there with the best dancers. I'm talking about 1941 now, 42 or so. And so we have this very, very diverse group of jitterbugs doing all kinds of steps. From the Dean Collins Lindy, which he brought from Harlem, all the jig trot style, we have everything mixed up with these dancers right here. One of the greatest competition dancers that ever lived is Hal, I mentioned the name Hal Takir, Hal and Betty. The reason why is because when they looked at all these little clubs and ballrooms, and again, there would be contests every night of the week, and there would be 2, 3 contests on the same night. Hal and Betty would look which one has the most money to win. That was number one for Hal and Betty. They didn't want trophies. Trophies were worthless. They wanted money. Contests would be maybe $5, $10. $15 would be a really big contest at that time.